We'll turn now to the response in our Flintshire community. We heard yesterday about the actions taken by some of our neighbours in Flintshire after witnessing the horrors experienced by innocents fleeing from the civil war in Syria. But there have been different ways in which individuals and organisations have expressed welcome. Katja, Liz and Steve are all members of Flintshire City of Sanctuary, one of the groups in the UK's City of Sanctuary network. Most people have never heard of the City of Sanctuary network. So how did you come to set up your group, Katja?
Thank you, Maya. My journey is very personal and I want to start with this really. In 2017, then my mother died. She herself had been a refugee, fleeing from Sudetenland. She was only 10 years old when she was separated on this dreadful journey from her family and lost her mother, but thankfully through the Red Cross, the whole family was reunited. So in 2018, having met Liz and having met others, I wanted to ask the question, what are we doing here in North Wales to make it a place of sanctuary? We met here in Theatre Clwyd, which is amazing to be back here now today. And 25 people came from Flintshire, Denbighshire, Wrexham, and we learned from TCC about the movement of City of Sanctuary. Very quickly we identified that this would be the way forward to come together in this, and Synergy, Flintshire City of Sanctuary was started and was launched, and Liz again talked about this. I think I want to finish with just saying how wonderful it was having so many gifted people who can overcome mountains of paperwork and challenges, and yet we seem to have got very far in these last couple of years despite the lockdown.
So as Katja said, we had a meeting in Theatre Clwyd, and the amazing thing was the unity of opinion, the passion to make something happen. There were people from all sorts of organisations, churches, nations, politics. It was all there, and there was no disagreement. We needed to do something. Now, my involvement with this came from the British Red Cross, actually, because I was already doing some language work with immigrants and refugees. And it was quite clear to me that you can only make a change where you are. So we very quickly, at the end of that meeting, called the people from Mould together and encouraged the other groups to get together as well. And before we left the Theatre Clwyd that day, we had an intention to form a group called Synergy. For lack of anything else at that point, we are now Flintshire City of Sanctuary, but we wanted to work together to make those changes that we could see were necessary. And the unity has carried us through. By the beginning of June, we'd had a meeting and we had a launch on June the 19th, 2018. And it was just stunning the way it came together. It was like there was an unseen hand, which of course there was, putting it all together. But we were the people who were on the ground moving. It moved on from there, and by the beginning of 19, there was a launch in Flint, and Steve is going to tell us about that.
Yeah, my connection with City of Sanctuary in Flintshire was through Liz, and Liz invited me to come and join, as it were, the Synergy group up in Mould. But very quickly I felt that we needed to do something from where I was from Flint, and so early in 2019 we launched Flint as Town of Sanctuary, City of Sanctuary if you like, and we got together all the people that we felt was interested in this subject, and we had a great day. It was absolutely wonderful. I think the same day as well, Wrexham was launched as City of Sanctuary as well, so it was a busy day. We managed to get about 40-50 delegates who came along to the conference, and in particular David Hanson MP, who is now Sir David Hanson, was actually quite passionate about the whole subject of refugees, and he spoke passionately from his heart, I think, about the cause of refugees and what we're trying to do. So in Flint, we've got some volunteers now who help and have continued to help, especially in the pandemic, from that launch, really, back in 2019.
So what are your goals in Flintshire City of Sanctuary, and what have you been doing to achieve them? Because COVID must have had an impact over the past year and a bit.
Right, so let me start with the purpose and the goals. First of all, forgive me if I read this off, but I don't want to miss anything important out. So our purpose was to make Flintshire a place of welcome and sanctuary for all people fleeing violence, oppression and persecution. Our objects were to advance education of the general public in Flintshire about issues relating to refugees and those seeking seeking asylum. To promote equality and diversity through activities, to foster understanding between people. Third one is the provision of recreation and leisure facilities to improve quality of life for those we work with. And finally, the relief and prevention of poverty amongst those seeking and granted refugee status here.
Now I'm going to take you on a very fast journey through 2018 and 19 and all of the events and celebrations that between us and our partners we did with the Syrian families who were settled in Flintshire. There was a pre-existing group called Language for Living that I am part of, and they had established regular English classes, not the grammar kind, the everyday English conversational kind, which enabled us to get to know people a lot better. And we had a request from British Red Cross and Flintshire County Council to run a summer school so that that big long holiday wasn't a dead spot for language learning and contact. And we did all sorts of things. We went to Flint Castle, we did an art class, we went to the museum, we went swimming, we had a party. There were lots of things, and all the time we're building relationship, which is really the whole point of it, isn't it? Because there's no better way to learn language and integration than to make friends. In the beginning of 2019, we had our first major public event, which was a visit by Margaret Fingerhut, the concert pianist, and it was called Far From the Home I Love. And Katja is going to tell us a little bit more about that event.
Well, in Margaret's own words, Margaret Fingerhut had devised a very special concert that she was performing throughout the UK to raise awareness and funds for City of Sanctuary. The pieces she played were all connected to immigration, refugee status, and the yearning and longing for home, the home we love and had to leave behind. It was moving, it was so good. I attended twice and would go happily another time again. Thank you.
And so we moved past Easter and that amazing concert, and we were in June. And it was a whole year since we founded Synergy, and it was our first birthday party. It was amazing. The mayor came and cut the cake. We had a groaning table of Syrian food. And by then we had, I think it was maybe 6 families who managed to come and share something of their culture and their enjoyment. They were thrilled to be there, and we were thrilled to be together as a group again. In that summer, the summer school took a slightly different turn because the central thing became the Eisteddfod. And the Theatre Clwyd, were very, very active here. And they did some amazing work with music, with the children, with performing. And that was the highlight of that summer in 2019. In the autumn, the group in Holywell had put on a barn dance with a Welsh national dress group leading the way and teaching us the Welsh dances. The Syrian families all came and with a little persuasion joined in the dancing. It wasn't easy for them, it wasn't natural for them, but they had a ball. We all did. And before we'd finished, we were learning Syrian dances as well. It was just one of those highlights of the year, I think, for everybody. And here we are, nearly at Christmas 2019, and I'm going to hand you back to Steve to tell you what happened in Flint in December 19.
Yes, it was late in 2019, coming up to Christmas, and I was in one of the meetings up in Mould and had the idea of inviting all the families the refugee families of Flintshire to maybe come and join something that we were doing. We were talking about trying to help them to integrate more. And so I threw out the idea of them coming to a Christmas party celebration in a church, in a Christian church. And so once we agreed that, we would put that to them and see what they said, virtually all of them came. I think every family in Flintshire came along to this Christmas celebration with food as well. We had to source the right food for their dietary requirements, and they just took part in the games. They were absolutely thrilled to be with us, and I think there was about 70-80 people all sitting down within the church setting celebrating Christmas, which we know that they don't particularly do that, but they enjoyed it. They thoroughly enjoyed it, took part in the games and won prizes. The kids were absolutely enthralled, and I think it went a long way to integrating the refugees, people and families into our society, into some of the stuff that we do, sharing from the heart.
Moira, our secretary, had been in touch with businesses here in Flintshire, and we had built up this relationship, and we're thinking of ways how to connect to businesses and bring our families in who also were entrepreneurs and skilled in many ways, but didn't know how to step out in this world. So what happened, we came up with the idea to do a women's event. The title, Women Hold Up Half of Heaven. I still argue it's more than this, because we brought up, we had on the day 90 women coming together, business women, entrepreneurs, Syrian women, people from City of Sanctuary, from Wrexham, Chester, Flintshire. It was a wonderful day. We had food from a Syrian food project. We did yoga, we danced, the children performed a drumming session. The atmosphere was just buzzing. And it was just before we broke off. The lockdown happened 2 weeks later, so we were literally the last big event we did as Flintshire City of Sanctuary, and probably the last big event happening here in the theatre. And we ended up on a dance on that night and said we get together soon again to dance. Well, we haven't danced in a group yet, but we're yearning for that day to come.
If I say March the 22nd, 2020, there aren't many people in the UK who don't know what that means, because that was when life as we knew it stopped and lockdown began. But technology began. And suddenly we all became experts in WhatsApp video lessons and Zoom meetings, and it was quite amazing. And I don't think we'll ever lose those talents or those tools in what we do, because they have been a lifesaver to everybody. When we got to the summer of 19, things eased a bit, if you remember. 2020, things eased a bit, and we were able to do lessons in the garden, weather permitting, and we managed quite well, actually. But what happened in that period was something we had not anticipated, because instead of teaching the adults, we were teaching the whole families. And particularly the children and their needs came to the fore. We realised we'd got children going to high school in September who'd had no transition experience. We did some Zoom youth clubs for transition. The theatre did some, and ICE, the Ethnic Youth Support Team, did some, and we were always there as part of it. And our links with these young people grew and grew, so that by the time they went back to school in September, which was a big jump for them, but they were so keen to get back there, we were still their first port of call when they didn't understand something, because we had people who could help on the phone at a minute's notice, who would have a chat about equations or adjectives or whatever it was they needed. And as a result of that, we started a completely new venture, and we found a new teacher who's an expert in this, and we have now book clubs. We also have something we call Syrian Voices, which is for our high school children to express themselves and develop their gifts of leadership and their involvement in their community again. And altogether, I think we gained out of lockdown, because we would never have thought of doing any of these things without being pushed into that. We're very grateful to the community funds that provided some money for Zoom, for equipment, and perhaps the crowning glory of this was we started a sewing club, and every Syrian lady now has a brand new sewing machine, and we had fun. We really did. We took them out packs and we did Zoom sewing lessons. And it really was great fun. And that was how 2019 ended. And of course, we hit another lockdown and everything changed again. And the children were all at home and sewing had to go into the cupboard. And, you know, if you wait long enough, it comes round again. And we're about to start sewing again, but in person. And we are very excited about that.
After hearing this account of all the amazing things going on in the last couple of years, but especially through lockdown, which seemed to be so tricky, you might ask yourself, how can I get involved in this, working with people who have a lived experience of seeking sanctuary or working here in Flintshire? So I'd like to pass you over to Moira, who is our secretary, and would love to hear from you.
We are always ready to hear from individuals or organisations who just want to take part in any way. You don't have to sign up to be a full-time member. You can assist maybe just even through befriending. We can provide training to help support people become befrienders, so you can invite someone to your home, you can join in some of our events. And as organisations, we're always looking for more assistance and to integrate the people that we work with what you do. To reach us, we are available on Facebook, so please just search for Flintshire City of Sanctuary on Facebook and you will find us. And equally, if you go to the cityofsanctuary.org website, you'll be able to link to us there through our group. Looking forward to hearing from you.